What up, Winbush here, and today we're going to take a look at how we can use geometry as stencil mask inside of Unreal Engine Motion 5.4. So as you can see right now, I do have Unreal Engine Motion already set up. If you need to know how to get this set up from the beginning, please make sure you check out my tutorial. The link will be up above and down in the description down below. But moving on, so right now I'm inside of my viewport, and if I come over here to where we see create defaults, I'm going to left click on this, and then I'm just going to hit spawn. And that's just going to add everything over here, my camera, my lights, and everything I need to get started. And so we're going to start off with a background. I did work on Big Bang Theory a couple of years ago, and so I'm going to use that as my background. So I'm going to come over here to rectangle, hit this twice, and then right down here where it says align the actors, I'm going to select this, come down here to the bottom right and stretch it so that it's 16 by 9. And now I'm going to use the style frame that I created for Big Bang Theory as my background, just so we can have a better representation of how everything's going to work. So with my rectangle selected, I'm going to come down here into my details panel, and right here where it says material type, instead of simple, I'm just going to go material designer, and that's going to pop up on material designer. So I'm going to select this right here for my material stage, and then down here under texture, I'm going to left click and drag my JPEG right into here. And now you can see we have it as our background here, but everything is kind of stretched out. So in order to fix this, I'm going to come down here to where it says material UV. I'm going to left click on this where it says mode. I'm going to stretch it to 16 by 9, and there we go. So now everything fits. So let's get this scene set up to add some stencil mask in here. So I'm going to pull this all the way down, and I'm going to come over here to shapes, and let's just say we want to start off with a rectangle, and we're going to make this full screen as well. So I'm going to come back down here, make this full screen. I'm actually going to rename my background here. So I'm going to right click, rename. I'm just going to do Big Bang for Big Bang Theory. And then down here under location, I'm just going to do 0.5 just to move it back just a tad bit, because now we have this rectangle in the foreground, because remember, we're working in 3D space. So for this one, I'm just going to actually make it a simple gradient. So down here under simple style where it says solid, I'm going to left click, make it linear, and maybe let's just make this one blue, something like that. So we have a nice gradient going from black to blue right there, and we're going to use a stencil mask to cut this out. So let me actually rename this one. Right click, hit rename, and I'm just going to name this one blue BG for blue background. And then I'm going to make maybe like a star, so I'm going to double click on this. Now I have a star in here, and we're going to use our star as our mask to get started. Now, before anything else, we do want to put these inside of groups. So with my star selected, I'm going to hold down the control key on my keyboard and hit G. And you can see that automatically grouped it inside of a null actor. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because any shape that I put inside this group right here is actually going to be combining as a shape, kind of like a boolean. So if I have several shapes in here and I put them all under this actor, it's going to make one massive mask. In fact, instead of null actor 1, I'm going to right click on this and rename it to mask, just like that. And if you didn't want to use the shortcut, if I come over here where it has actors, left click down here, all it's doing is adding a null actor. So Control G is the shortcut to bring that in. But let me actually just do it from here. So I'm going to double click on this to bring in another null actor. I'm actually going to put the background under that. So I'm going to drag this underneath here, and let me rename this one to background. So now we need to tell it that this group right here is actually going to be the mask for this down here. So in order to do that, if we come over here on the left hand side where we have our operator stack, we're going to left click on this, and that's going to bring up our operator stack right here, in which I'm going to take this tab and just drag it over so we can see both at the same exact time, so we can see what's happening. So I'm going to start off with my background right here, and under modifiers where it says add modifier, I'm going to left click. And down here at the bottom under rendering, we have two options for mask. We have apply and set. And so the way I like to think about this is whatever you have apply set to, that means any mask to actually be applied to that particular layer. So I know it might be a little bit confusing at first, but just think of it as any way that's going to make it easier for you. So for me is if I put this on apply, that means that any mask that I make is going to be applied to this, if that makes sense. So with my background selected, I'm going to click on mask apply. And then with my mask selected, my layer up here, I'm going to come over here, add modifier, and I'm going to do mask set. So right now you can see that this mask right here is actually pulling in this layer back here. So let me actually make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to come over here and let's make this scale up a little bit, something like that. And just so you can see what's happening, if I select this right here, change out this color, you can see there's actually being pulled through this. And actually, let me do it as a simple color. So I'm going to go solid, make it unlit. There we go. So you can see a little bit better what's happening inside there. Still the gradient, but now you can see that anything that's under this layer is actually pulling through what's underneath here. Now, if we actually look at some of the options here, and let me pull this over a little bit, you can see that we actually have channels as well. So if you wanted to do multiple stacks on here, you could change these channel numbers out right here. And the same thing, if I come over here to mask set, select this, you can have it correlate with your channel right here. So if you really wanted to get more complicated with it, you can actually go through and change those out as you please. But let me start by coming back over here. Let's add some more shapes to this. So I'm going to come over here to shape, and maybe let's go with ellipse, something like that. Scale it out, and you can see that we have it as a separate layer under the motion design outliner. But if I left click, bring it into this stack right here, it's fighting a little bit, but let's just move this over. And now you can see it's working like a boolean. So if I select off it, you can see now that these are actually combined together, and that's because I have them underneath this particular group right here. And anything that I put inside there is actually going to do the same thing. So we put this arrow in here. We can scale this up a little bit if we want. Put this under that stack. There we go. So now you can see we're actually combining everything together. And it doesn't only work with 2D, it works with 3D as well. So if I come over here to 3D shapes, and let's just say a sphere. So if I double click, bring a sphere into here, scale this up, you can see we have a sphere. So if I pop out of my camera here, just zoom around, you can see we have a 3D sphere inside there. So I'm going to look back into my camera. I can bring that sphere underneath the mask, and boom, there we go. So now the sphere is a part of the stack as well. And if I pull back out of my camera again and look around, if I have it selected, you can see that it's a sphere. But since the stack is actually 2D, it's going to come through as a 2D object. So you have some options there on how you want to stack these around. And that's going to do it. I just wanted to give you a basic setup just so you guys can get started out there working with the motion design tools. And hopefully these little quick tutorials are helping you get acclimated with motion design so you can create some really cool stuff out there. So once again, my name is Jonathan Winbush. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe for more tutorials like this. And until next time, stay fresh, keep creating, and I'll catch you in the next video. I'll see you soon. Take care.